It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to the realm of geekdom. This is Nerd Breaking News. We're going to go ahead and give you the spoiler review of Superman 2025 now that the film is already out. Most of you have seen it. If you have not, we do have the non-spoiler. Don't forget to check that out in our channel. And it was done by us too as well. But first, before we jump into that, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss an episode. And you can also check us out over at Spotify. So let's go and jump into it. Let's start with what we were expecting when we're walking in compared to what we actually got. And obviously, the expectation for this film was huge. We've been talking about this for months now, kid. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think the idea was that this was highly anticipated because it was James Gunn. It was the new DCU. It's Superman. It's Gunn trying to be Kevin Feige of DCU. It's a lot of factors, a lot of elements factored into what we anticipated walking in. I thought my expectations was it needed to be in the high B's, and then it needed to have close to 300 million worldwide, which we'll still see where that happens for the rest of the weekend in the box office. But for me, I was like, it needs to be in the high B's, and it needs to have, critical and audience, Rotten Tomatoes score, all that stuff. It needs to basically show a change of how we see DC, the brand, and Superman. I remember Superman, the biggest box office, most successful box office movie is Man of Steel. The movie was dramatically controversial.
Mm-hmm.
So Superman hadn't had a film in 12 years. So I walked in going with huge excitement, thinking that this is going to be
Correct,
amazing.
and I think with the recent recordings that we've done over the last couple of months, we've seen that excitement from you, and I think a lot of us were also excited for the fact that this is going to be a change in leadership, heading to a different direction for the DC universe and its movie franchises, and we know what we've gotten for the last like 13, 15 years. It's not been anything good, and quite honestly, it's been movies where you have to kind of walk away. So let's start with the good, because I think we want to start with the good stuff, because I think this film had more good than they actually had bad. So for you, what was one of the biggest things that you saw that blew you out of this film?
Yeah, now that we talk about spoilers, so here's the thing. I knew a lot going into this film because I was very invested. I still am. Huge DC fan. Superman's my favorite. So I knew that more or less the timeline of what was going to happen. I knew the first 5 minutes. I knew a lot of stuff, especially because Twitter, all the clips were coming out. So I knew I had like 60% in my mind of what was going to happen, and so I needed that other 40%. And the reason why that's important is because that 40% gives me stuff that we didn't know, and that ties into what you're asking. One, Luthor, right? Like I knew that based on the clips, he was going to be ruthless and all that stuff. He was just better than what was, I guess, advertised. So Nicholas Hoult is like,
oh yeah, 100%, yeah. Because this is the spoiler one, the way he did it was like just amazing. The fact that he's calling out the actual moves to actually counter Superman from like this control little room just tells you the level of intellect, preparation that he put in to be able to face Superman.
Look at how
This is just great.
Look at how his employees are down for the cause. They were excited. They were invested in helping Luthor defeat Superman whichever way they can. It wasn't. Was it towards the end? No, I guess even when he was trying to force. I guess the only controversial thing was one of his henchmen was saying the crack of Metropolis, the dimensions were opening, and he was like, "Oh my god!" That was the only time we saw pushback. Everything else, Luthor was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do whatever I can do." They don't care about. Here's the thing, the good. I thought Man, I thought the Kents were all right. Jonathan and Martha Kent. I thought they were all right. I don't think they were
Yeah,
amazing. I
they
thought
were forgettable. They
I
were
thought
definitely
I thought
forgettable.
Jimmy was trash. And now that we can
Uh,
talk spoilers, I thought the whole thing with Eve Testmaster was, again, I knew that the spoilers came out months ago. I just didn't want to believe it. But
mhm.
I thought it was so contrived. The idea that everybody thinks he's, I guess, Rico Suave, and everybody
Yeah,
thinks, yeah,
basically, yeah, like a little
and
player of some sort.
yeah, and then Eve acts like that, and to him, and then of course Eve, like the whole thing we talked about, Eve gives him the pictures, and then they zoom in on the pictures, and you can read her
Yeah,
conscience.
just everything. Like she's been the super spy the entire time,
And, and,
like the
and by the
Black
way,
Widow
yeah,
of the Superman.
and by the way, accidentally, right? It wasn't intentional. She was just doing
Yeah,
selfies. So I was just like, okay, that's horrible.
correct.
Uh,
And to get the incriminating evidence you needed too, it was just coincidental,
you
right?
made
In
you
the
made
whole
you
process.
made a good, you made a good point with Ultraman when he was overhearing Eve in the room, but then we find out that Ultraman only loses because the crypto destroys the
Yeah,
whole
I think
world.
that's one of the bad things about the storyline and stuff, which we'll jump into it a little later. But let's look at those side characters. Lois Lane,
Lois,
she was amazing.
yeah,
That's what a reporter that she is. That's how she should be. And
yeah.
I think we made an amazing job portraying her. And a lot of people were saying online that they didn't really like it too much. I actually enjoyed it. I think it was a really great portrayal of her character.
I, I think she did amazing. Here's the thing. I like the idea that she's kind of reserved with Clark, where she's like, because Clark is clearly more in love with Lois than Lois is with Clark. I like that idea because it goes to her character. She's very like, hold on, what's going on? Let's analyze this and all that stuff. And I like the fact that at the end it pays off when she says, "I love you back." It took
Mm-hmm.
the whole movie, but that was pretty cool. Jimmy
Correct.
Olsen,
They built up to it.
Mr. Terrific, amazing. I love the fact that he gets involved in the story. I love the fact that he is, his intellect is in full display. His technology is in full display. That scene with the Guardians of the Galaxy, that was reminiscent of Guardians
Oh
3
yeah,
when he was with
yeah. There's a
Sam.
little battle scene with him
Yeah.
using his little spheres as
He,
he emphasized in the movie. And I'll be honest with you, like I'm not a big Superman. I'm DC comic book guy. I'm more on the Marvel side. So obviously going to this film and watching Mr. Terrific kind of like for the first time for myself in some kind of media was so cool and amazing. It actually interested me into dive a little bit more into him. And I think
yeah,
like one of the big good things about this film is like not only are the characters good, not only is the cinematographic good, but this is short, sweet, simple enough that someone could go ahead and say, you know what, I could sit through it a second time, a third time, and because I invested myself into these characters, the side characters that James Gunn introducing to us, they're popping up in the TV shows. That means that one or two or three people here and there are going to say, hey, if they were this good in the film, I'm going to go check out the TV show.
yeah. And Mr. Terrific was already on several cartoon shows before. So Guy Gardner was amazing. Nathan Fillion, I'm always a fan of his. I
Always.
thought I thought he was going to be annoying to the point where he was going to be a detriment. He was a positive in this film, and if that's an indication
Mhm.
of how Guy Gardner, who's a scrub Green Lantern, if he did that for Guy Gardner, that means that Green Lantern's TV show on HBO Max, which premieres in early 2026, with Hal Jordan and
And John
Stewart,
Stewart.
yeah, uh, that's going to be amazing because and Guy Gardner's in that show. So now Guy Gardner is also in Peacemaker, comes out next month with Hawkgirl and James Gunn's brother, Maxwell Lord. They're all, if you watch, which I told you, watch the trailer when you get a chance. They're in the first 10
Mhm.
seconds. Watching this movie, I've seen a lot of reviewers say, I'm not going to watch Peacemaker now because I like these characters and I want to see them again. And then Gunn said recently, dude, that a big cameo from this movie is going to be on Peacemaker. If I had to take a shot, I think it's Luthor. Why?
Yes.
Because Luthor was sent to prison, and he
Mhm.
wasn't sent just to a regular prison. He was sent to like the famous DC prison. So I'm like, okay, that could be a thing. Again, we're gonna go through the characters real quickly. So I told you the cancer mid. David Cornsweat's my favorite Superman, tied with Christopher Reeves.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, how about the villains? Let's talk about the villains, Ultraman and the Engineer.
I thought the engineer was all right. I thought it could have been
Yeah, I
anybody.
think it was forgettable. Like I think she was just there to
She was
be an
just there.
extra muscle to throw
She
hits
was just
at.
there. And then what's frustrating with the engineer is that she's part of the authority of DC's anti-hero group, and I don't. There hasn't been any word of whether the authority is going to move forward, so we don't know anything happened with that. So that could be a throwaway character. And then
Oh yeah,
Ultraman, I thought, listen, we knew it was going to be Ultraman. Everything was leaked and all that stuff. I just thought, when I saw Corn Sweat's clone and all that stuff, I don't know. I thought for me, I'm like, yeah, you needed a body to physically go against Cal. But I was just like, man, I wish the rumors were true. How about this? There was a lot of, like we always talk about, man, we could have wrote a better story.
exactly.
There was more fan rumors that were better than this. For example, Parasite. He's actually a reputable villain against Superman. You ever heard of Metello? You ever heard of Metello, the Superman character?
No, no, I have
He's a
not.
villain Corbin was his first name. It was his real name. Something happens. There's an explosion or something. He gets rebuild like Metello. He has a metal suit, but
Okay.
inside his chest is kryptonite.
Oh,
So he's able to fight Superman because Superman's weaker when he's hitting him up. So
mm,
Metallo fights this version of Superman, David Cornsweet, in the novel that came out a month ago on Amazon. There was like a pre-novel
oh,
to
really?
the movie, and I read the novel, and it's way better than this. I'm just like, what happened here? Um, another rumor was Brainiac. Another rumor was the White Martians, which is the villains of the Green Martians. It was all they could have been Ultraman. I'm tying it back to Ultraman. They all could have been
Correct.
potentially another Ultraman that wasn't really Ultraman. The Hammer Baravia, when we found out that was Ultraman, I was like, oh, I guess, like it's so again,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
and I
So
think that's the biggest gripe that I have with the film is the fact that they build this up throughout the entire spring last year to build up this film, and the first thing that we see is Superman broken down in the snow, calling for his dog Crypto to help him out.
which wasn't his dog.
That looks that looks like that should have been an amazing fight for us to have seen. Go ahead and throw us in there in the middle of the fight of Superman just getting beat the hell up, no introduction or anything like that, and then just have him get tossed around and he lands on ice. I think that would have been a better introduction
Yeah,
because I would have loved to have seen the actual struggle, the actual fight that he was going through. Because though we do see some of the struggle, we don't see him to the point where he got beat up, like James Gunn was kind of promising in quotations,
yeah.
right? Promising us that Superman was going to be this week.
I mean, but to be fair, he did get beat up in this movie. To be fair,
He did, he
he,
did, he did.
he did get beat up in this movie. But to piggyback to what you're saying, I would have loved a confident. Because remember, this is year 3 Superman. I would have loved a confident Superman shows up, Hammond Baravia cleans him up, and then we see the Arctic scene when he goes beat up because it would have
Mhm.
showed, damn, I got mopped. How
Correct.
do I recover from my first L? As opposed to he already lost, and then Crypto just takes him. You know what I'm saying? We've seen that scene before. So
Mhm.
I thought that to your point, for me, my biggest gripe is the fact that you could tell there's 20 minutes missing in this film, and you could tell there's editing issues, and you could tell that the tone is off. People,
Mhm.
listen, we haven't talked about this since we did the non-spoiler. A lot of people, TK, are loving that scene that me and you do not like with the ball in the back. I've seen on Twitter, Superman fans literally saying that's a chef's kiss, and I'm just like, yo, you guys
Oh, no.
clearly
Let's actually talk about that because I think that scene completely hurt the film
jumped
and
the
what it
shark,
was trying to do.
jumped the shark.
Right? Like the whole scene, like I didn't know if I wanted to sympathize with what was going on, the emotional aspect of conversations going between Lois Lane and Superman, or pay attention to Green Lantern swinging with a baseball bat
Which we don't know what that
to
is. It was never
to whatever,
explained.
yeah, that jelly alien
It was
multi-dimensional
never.
monster.
It was never explained, and it was so much fan theory. Oh, that could have been Brainiac's people. It could have been another DC obscure villain that people were talking about. The Sun.
Mhm.
I forgot his name. There was so much. Here's the thing. I love the idea that it's comic booky. I love it. I just
Yes.
feel like the execution was off. And I'm getting to the point where I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to take the fam. We're going to watch it again, and I'll see it from a different perspective. I'll be like, hey, I saw it once, but I will amend my grade. I gave it a B.
Mhm.
It's been a couple days. It's now a B minus. It's now a
Ah,
B minus. You know why?
what change? What's the change?
Because
Yeah.
even my love for David Cornsweet, who I love David Cornsweet. What do I sign for David Cornsweet?
Hmm.
This feels like Superman Returns to me in the sense of not obviously a way better film. Superman Returns.
Yeah,
Superman
yeah,
Returns was a guilty pleasure. I was like the only one back in '06 going like, yeah, even though the movie sucked. I loved
yeah.
it. I feel like with this one, TK, I feel like it's gonna get the Superman Returns treatment from me, which means I'm gonna see certain clips on HBO Max when it comes out, but I'm not gonna see the whole
Mhm.
film.
Okay.
It's gonna get that treatment. Like you know how it is. You love a film, but you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't love the whole damn film, but I love clips. This is what's gonna get it. Like
I get
Luthor, terrific. Don't get me wrong, the epic scene when he's flying and the smoke in the building, that's beautiful. But
yeah.
the film didn't feel majestic to me. It didn't feel, oh my God, this is quote unquote epic. It didn't feel that. It just felt like, man, where are those 20 minutes, dude? Maybe those, you know what? Maybe
Mhm.
the gun cut and the 20 minutes, maybe the 20 minutes could change my mind from a B minus.
And if he has a little bit more, I think he should add it there because again, like you said, the pacing was just really off. I felt that we were going from one scene all of a sudden, boom, cut right to the other scene. And I think the best example was when we're looking at the little kaiju.
No,
Where did the little kaiju come from? First of all, we don't know.
first
How
off,
do you
first
acquire
off.
it? Yeah, how do you acquire it? Where did it come from? Like we have no idea. Kaiju is thrown, just kind of let go in the city on his own. And next scene, he's as tall as a 40-story building, destroying half of Metropolis.
Dude, I
Like
like
what happened?
I like Metamorpho, but when you give him such a contrived storyline, hey, my kid's on the other side, and I really can't do anything, but it's such a, it's not fleshed out. Like,
Hmm.
and there's scenes from the trailer that didn't make the movie because Gunn cut it, and I
Yeah,
just feel like, and don't get me wrong, we talked about it. It's a business move. He cut it for 2 hours to get the people for rewatchability purposes. It's a
correct.
fast movie. It goes 100 miles an hour. If you just, we always talked about this. The popcorn dudes, they're gonna eat this up
Oh,
because
100%.
turn your brain off and just eat your food and just enjoy the because at the end of the day, as much as we're criticizing this film, it's entertaining. It
Yes,
brings
yes,
back hope. He's probably the best Superman since Chris Reeve. That's one of the best.
100%.
That's one of the best DC
Hmm.
villains we've ever seen. Like
Yes.
it's a lot of
It's one of the
positive.
best villains that we've seen in decades, quite honestly, even compared to those of the MCU.
But TK, I'll say this: two things could be true. The movie was mid. It did
Hmm.
its job for the DCU starting off, and the third thing is we could all acknowledge, not be called haters, because again, I want this movie to succeed. I want people. I want this movie to make money.
Correct.
But I could be objective and say the third thing. You know what's the third thing? It needs to get better, James Gunn. It needs to get better. This
Yeah.
script can't continue. You can't direct part two. You
Mhm.
shouldn't touch part two. Give David Cornswet a better director. And remember, I said this, and I was on record. I'm not a James Gunn fan. I just
Yeah.
have to support him because he needs to bring from the ashes of the Snyder trash to what
Of
we're
what?
at.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
From the gut hole that you guys have put yourself into
so
for the last couple of films, be able
yeah,
to get out there and actually be respectable of some sort. And I think this film did its job.
you
Right.
want the
I
kid.
gave it a B
Yeah.
minus from the beginning. I stick with it. I think B minus is the perfect grade for it. It's a great film for anybody who wants to just go with the family, turn off the brain, like you said, and just sit back and enjoy it. It's a quick 2 hour film. You're gonna have fun, and you're gonna walk out happy.
What
For
did
the
you think about
most part,
what did you think about Supergirl at the end?
so that's my first introduction of that version of Supergirl.
Yeah,
So
the one
for
that I told you about, the
me,
punk rock one. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So for me, like growing up with like the Supergirl that we've seen on TV, and then the other thing, we have that new Supergirl that her show is it hasn't been around for that too long either.
like 3 years ago.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so I still have that kind of version of Supergirl, and then we see this one coming in. You can tell she's an liberator of some sort. Coming over here, I didn't know she was the older cousin, which is something new to me when I learned it from you. But so her reaction was a little off for me at the beginning, but after you explained it, it kind of like makes sense. I'm intrigued. But again, it kind of caught me off guard. Luckily, because I had someone like you telling me the lore of the Superman and Supergirl, that kind of helps out. And I know a lot of people don't have that. So I think that might have confused some people, might have thrown off some people, but we'll see. We were still getting a lot of those reviews coming in at the moment.
yeah. And listen, as of right now, when we were talking when we started recording, um, 30 minutes ago or so, around that time, the cinema score came out, and it's an A minus. And according to for comparison purposes, the
Mm.
Batman and Men of Steel got the same one. All three Guardians of the Galaxy got an A instead of an A minus. So why cinema score is important, TK, is because this is what the audience votes for. How did you like the
Correct.
film? A B plus is like a death sentence. So an A minus is you barely got just enough to have potential legs of people coming back weekend after weekend on the weekend. So it's not
Mm,
like I was expecting an A based on the Rotten Tomato scores,
yeah.
but an A minus is not. You're not done, TK, but you got your work cut off for you, and then
Oh,
the
correct. And I
yeah.
think that actually really puts it where this film is for DC. It got you right above where you needed to do in order to bring people to say, you know what, I will give you a second chance, and not put themselves to a point where there is no return. So yes, there's still improvement they need to do for sure
We did talk
in
about
order for them to continue growing. And I think another one of the biggest things for me is, why is James Gunn all over the place? Like,
the
I
Justice
get it.
Gang.
This is
The
your
Justice
film.
Gang.
This is your thing. But my God, like,
The,
you
Ju-
look like you're the main cast in this film.
the Justice Gang is not a coincidence. JG. That's not a coincidence. Why like that?
Yeah.
His tone is all over the movie. The MCU vibes all over the movie. We didn't talk about this in the non-spoiler review. Where are we with crypto?
So the way I feel about it, I think it was just overdone. I think it was a great character. I love the dynamic of this dog not paying attention to his, non-owner, because that's basically what it was. And I
It
think
was
that, and I think that actually is kind of like how dogs actually do act,
okay.
right? That's normal. I've seen it around, but you have three, four, five scenes maximum. I think you're pushing it a little bit more if you're doing it too much. And I think that's what happened over here. It got to a point where I just kept seeing this damn dog. It already knew, oh, here comes another joke spot.
You know,
And it was just one of those things that I felt like every time I saw the dog, it was just some way for James Gunn to say, oh, I guess I need to take the seriousness out of this some way, somehow.
you know what killed me when we watched the movie? How the hell did the robots get built back?
No explanation.
I was literally thinking, probably Mrs. Terrific helped them out. But how did how did the robots? And then he named them Gary. That was cool. By the way, the ending that we could talk about it. That's a beautiful
Yes,
ending
yeah,
with
that
your
was a
parents.
beautiful thing.
You have to that's a smile on your face.
Mm,
But what I told you was when I walked out of this film, I didn't feel depressed and I didn't feel defeated like I did in Men of Steel. In Men of Steel, I felt like waved the flag as a Superman fan because Henry Cavill ruined and him Snyder and Goyer it killed me as a Superman fan what I just saw with that movie. This one was just disappointing. I was expecting A level, and I got a B minus. You know what it is? You got that steak, but the steak wasn't as good. You're still eating a steak, it's just not as good. With Men of Steel, I got fish instead of steak. I'm like, oh Jesus, like what's going on over here? Here, I walked out disappointed, but whenever I told you when I walked out, it's a different type of feeling. I feel like the MCU fans and I feel that the families and I feel like the general public are gonna like this film despite its
mhm.
flaws, and it's gonna. Dude, I've seen more and more kids everywhere on Twitter and everywhere I see on the news everywhere repping the logo that you know what I'm saying the emblem the idea of who Cal is that I didn't see that same enthusiasm 13 years ago. So I feel like that's the goal, dude. If we could get people again to care about this character and bring money, they already have the critical thing. I think it's in the low 80s for the critics from the Rotten Tomatoes, but it's like a
Mhm.
95 fans on Rotten Tomatoes. That's insane. That
It's
means
amazing.
an overwhelming amount of people love this film fan wise, and it just needs to do the box office. I just think if it just does the box office this weekend, it's gonna get number one. But depending on where it is, the word of mouth and all that stuff, it did its job. And if you could get to Man of Steel box office numbers, or hopefully the Batman
Amazing.
numbers, then
Amazing.
then
Amazing.
you did your job. But you know what? Me and you could both sit here and be objective and say the next one better be better because
Correct.
we can't have too much of these, or we walk out going like, ugh.
Yes, yes, because I think like he did the right things that he needed to do enough to be able to get this film through and make it lovable and rewatchable, right? But because he's taking a lot of things from the MCU, he could always fall in that trap of emulating the MCU so much that we've seen what the MCU looks like right now. It's not good. And you don't want to fall into that trap just because you're following the same formula.
Oh,
Right?
I'll be remiss to say as a Superman fan, I didn't like the fact that Jor-El, played by Bradley Cooper, the message wasn't fully played in the movie, and then the engineer got the rest of the message, and it said to impregnate females or take over the world and all this stuff. I didn't
Mhm.
like that. I'd rather Luthor edit the recording to
To make
screw
it
Superman
seem.
as opposed to Jor-El saying the stuff that he said in the movie. For me, as a
Yeah,
Superman
that's
fan,
true.
and James Gunn brags that he's a comic book fan, that's an L on James Gunn. And again, two things could be true. I want this movie to be successful, but James Gunn has to look. Hey, you're the writer, right? You're the head of DC. You wrote this. Here's the problem. I told you about this, TK. Matt
Yeah.
Reeves turned in the Batman script a week and a half ago. James Gunn
Mhm.
already said it was great. He already read it, but he had to turn it in to a higher guy. James Gunn didn't turn this in to anybody. You know,
Correct, exactly.
the suits
So
and
you're approving, you're accepting, you're the one who's making the final decision on everything that we have seen. So this is your project, this is your baby, and I get it. But that means that anything that comes out of there is on you.
and we said this. The script was the biggest thing for us, man. That script was
Mhm.
not good. That script good. The battle of the countries, the conflict. Why didn't you
Yeah,
show? Why didn't you show that at the beginning with Superman intervening? Why didn't you show that?
yeah, that would have been a perfect way to not only introduce that, but you have the Hammer of Bolivia coming around over here and beating him up and taking him out. That would have been cool to see. And we'll understand. And indeed, that scene too, to see a whole ass military on one side and a bunch of farmers on the other side. Like, come on, like you telling me the other country doesn't have a military of their own? Like, at least make make it seem realistic.
Man, I just wish that fight was the beginning scene, dude, and Superman comes in, and before he comes in, you could tell
Mhm.
he's in his face, he's not happy with what he's going to do, but he still does it because he doesn't want people to die. That would
Mhm.
have been a hell of a lot better scene. And then to your point, you have the Daily Planet, and as you're talking to the Daily Planet, here comes the hammer, and you're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. And then 15 minutes into the movie, you see him beat up next to the Fortress of Solitude, but that
Yes.
can't be your beginning. And I'm like,
Mhm.
come on, man, how do we write a better story already? And then the pocket dimensions, I'm not a big fan of the pocket dimensions. For me,
Yeah.
I thought it looked aesthetically cool, right? Like, oh, okay, yeah.
Mhm.
But to me, that's lazy. You know why? Because now you could write 20,000 pocket dimensions. Now you can write anything now. Because Peacemaker, when you watch the trailer, which I implore you to do, the end, all they're talking about is the pocket dimensions at the end. So you're like, okay, so this is how Gunn's
Oh,
gonna
man.
explain. And by the way, what is Peacemaker doing there? What is John
He's
Cena
supposed
doing
to
in
be
the
in the other one.
DCU?
Hmm.
He's not supposed to be there. He's supposed to be the DCEU, right? The old one. They're gonna
Exactly.
explain that in the TV show. By the way, Hot Girl, she didn't do a damn thing.
No, no,
She
she
didn't do
was
it.
an extra muscle. That's all she was.
She was an extra muscle, and then I was like, all right, dog. Anyways, I did like the fact that Superman. I'll say this: Superman didn't do enough, and it kills me. What do I mean by that?
Oh,
Superman didn't do enough, and what do I mean to say?
okay.
He saved people, unlike Henry Cavill.
Hmm. Huge difference, by the way. That's what I
Correct.
thought that was good.
Correct. And you notice how the kids loved him and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Here's the difference. I feel like he was either getting his ass kicked, bitching about something, and I feel like it wasn't enough super moments of him actually. He didn't. People didn't. I don't even know how to say this. Like there wasn't enough moments of him being, "Hey, I'm gonna knock you out." It is what it is.
Yeah,
Even when he was fighting Ultraman, right? Engineer, him and Engineer in the baseball scene, like that was cool. What he did when they put it in his mouth and he flew up, that was smart. But there
mhm.
wasn't enough. Like, hey, I'm gonna destroy this guy. Enough is enough. I
Yeah.
didn't.
Like
I didn't see
I
that.
get what you mean. You're talking about like those moments where he comes in and he just looks like I am overpowered and I am Superman. That's exactly right. Let
I
me
didn't
take
feel
two,
it.
two,
I didn't
two.
feel that. I didn't feel
Yeah,
that.
exactly. I don't
But
think there was any scenes where I could say, "Damn, Superman is the dog that's coming in here, and everybody better watch out." Like no minor villain for him to just like one hit KO or anything like that. We never got that.
2008 Iron Man when he goes to whatever country he went to with the suit for the first time because he was pissed off that he watched the news.
Oh yeah, when he was
With the
attacking the
tank,
terrorists.
with the tank,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Everybody and their mother, mira, mwah, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
I didn't
Exactly.
I didn't
We
see
didn't
that.
have that.
We didn't have that. Yeah. And that's a
Yeah.
huge
And I
L on
think
James Gunn.
yes, and I think Superman needed that.
Yes.
So again, like seeing him beat up already, losing and not seeing that first fight, that should have been that moment
A-
right then and there.
Yeah. A lot of people were complaining, TK, at the climax of the film where it was a monologue instead of that. And while I love the monologue, I felt like you ruined it with Crypto biting Lex Luthor. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, we're talking about serious conversations here, and Crypto
Again,
has to.
I think that's the whole purpose of the dog. Again, the whole crypto thing. Every time he was on scene, what was it? It was a comedy scene.
Shenanigans.
It was just to throw a little gag, a little joke, a little jab here, just to get the fans to really, really laugh. So obviously, when you have crypto show up at the end and do that to Lex, we're gonna be laughing. I think that's funny. It takes away from the scene. That's
Yeah.
unfortunately writing because you're overusing, over relying on jokes and little gags that is so common in the MCU. And again, this is something if he continues pushing it is going to be the downfall because we see that at the MCU already.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
listen, we're gonna do a review on Jurassic World whenever we get a chance. I know we're gonna try to do it. It's on the schedule, guys, and then we're gonna do Fantastic Four. Obviously, opening day. We can't miss Fantastic Four.
no,
But
not at all.
this is disappointing. But I'm still excited for the universe. I love David Cornsweet. I love Nicholas Hoult, Rachel Brosnahan. They all did great. It's just that the one to blame is James Gunn.
Yes, and I think this film did enough for it to bring back intrigue to the DCU.
Yeah.
And it will definitely be the next couple of films to see if this is a failure or a success for James Gunn. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Whether you are in the DCU fan base or not, look up because we believe this Superman film gets that B- grade that it deserves. Where it could definitely get its improvement, but it did what it needed to do. So keep your fandom alive and your warp drive engaged. Until next time, fellow nerds, this is Nerd Breaking